Good morning, everyone. I'm Prajakta from the marketing team at Lead, India's largest school edtech company. And on behalf of Lead, I would like to welcome you all to the live webinar on growing your school using social media marketing. This webinar is the ninth one in our series of free webinars where we talk about various topics relevant to school owners and principals. Today, we have with us Mr. Vivek Shah, who has been working as the Vice President for Growth Market here at Leeds since the last 2 years. He has also had an extensive experience of over 14 years across different formats of digital marketing and online ads. I'm sure you'll gain a lot from today's session given his knowledge and experience in the subject. So, without further ado, I would request him to kindly initiate the session. Over to you, Vivek, sir.
Thanks a lot, Padakta, and thank you everyone for joining on this Saturday. I hope, I think we have a pretty interesting lineup here in terms of content that we're going to share. And I think it'll be everyone's worth the while. While we start off, feel free to pose questions along the way. There's lots of interaction that we've planned in this session, and I would love to keep it more and as much interactive as we can. All right, so jumping straight into there's really no presentation which in my view is complete without a good meme, right? And I think this is a good meme to start off, which is what is social media marketing about posting content, right? And I think we are here to really understand what is it that goes into running a successful, meaningful social media, right? And as we get into the next slide, we have a quick poll for all of us, and I would request our team to share it on the group, and then we'll proceed from there.
Yeah, it's on. So I would request everyone to kindly fill in your answer.
Thanks, Parita.
Okay, I think a lot of people are responding, so we'll have a countdown of 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Should I share the results?
Is everyone done? You can hold for a couple of more seconds, but I think if you've got a reasonable response, then we can proceed.
Okay, 3 more seconds.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. I think 80-90% people have answered, so I would like to share the results.
Yep, let's do that, Parita.
Yep, results are on the screen.
Fantastic. So almost more than 3/4 of the folks here do have a social media page for school, and about 20 or 25%, 22% not yet, right? That's an interesting thing to know, and I think that also validates the need for a session like this. And how do we actually go about with the social media platforms? And that's what we're going to discuss thereafter. Thank you for giving this quick information. So what we are going to cover here as a following set of the follow-up points is, most of us might know a fairly good idea about why is social media important, right? And I think it'll be good if some of you can just type in what you think is the importance of social media in a school's perspective, right? In a school's context. Then we look at, if it is important, who is the audience that we need to reach out to, right? And how do you how do we effectively reach out to them, right? And because we are talking digital, we are talking social platforms, what are the best ways to communicate with them on these platforms, right? And I think these 4 questions will give us a fairly good idea about as a takeaway from this class. And that's not all. We also have a fairly exhaustive social media guide, which you get at the end of this, and I'll walk you through some parts of it along the way. but primarily the why, how, who do we reach out to, and what are the best sort of communication practices that will help us maximize everything out of social media platforms. Like just to just to get into very quickly, what is social media, right? We put a simple little definition, social media, but anyone wants to give their definition of social media, which might be different, or a different version of what is written here, which is websites and applications that enable users to create and share content, or to participate in social networking. Why is there such a huge hoopla about it, or is there a hoopla about it? So if you have any thoughts, please feel free to mention in the chat. But let me just tell you a step back. So social media as an internet phenomenon, and I'm sure most of you would have heard Web 3.0, right? And so there must be something called as Web 2.0, and by corollary, there should be something called as Web 1.0, right? So just to give you a sense of these timelines, fundamentally, when internet began, there was a set of entities who could create content on the internet, right? Someone who would own the website, and that entity could run content, or show put content, and consumers like you and me could read or consume that content. So there were producers of the content and there were consumers of the content. Now, a very interesting phenomenon happened during the mid 2000s and thereafter, wherein the term Web 2.0 came into picture with advent of some technologies. Usme fundamentally what happened is the creator and the producer or the consumer of the content was starting to become the same entity. What do I mean by that? Take for example YouTube. YouTube में even you can create content and even I can create content and you can see your own content and my content and vice versa. ये पहले possible नहीं था in the Web 1.0 version of it, right? So when the creator entity and the consumer entity started sort of merging is when it became lot more, for lack of a better word, social media, right? And that's where जब आप खुद contribute करते हो to the platform is where you are very much your own self or your own individual self, and that's where आपके बारे में बहुत कुछ as an information, as your behavior as an individual, platforms come to know, and therefore that's what becomes more interesting, and we all are social creatures, and that's what has spurred the usage of social media so much, right? So just a couple of what is social media, the context, right? um, and and then we spoke about platforms, right? So कौन-कौन से platforms exist, and I'm sure you know some of these platforms, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, social networking के Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and there are a bunch of other very specific social media platforms as well, like Discord or Quora, Stack Overflow, etc. Right? Snapchat, WhatsApp, or more on the chat communication side along with Discord. So primarily YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram के बारे में in this session we'll talk, and that's where kind of is related to our session primarily. So let's dive one step deeper into this, right? Let's take some questions, okay? There's some interesting data points, and आपको आंसर पता है तो please put it in the chat box. What percentage or almost what percentage of India's population is using internet? By the way, on a separate note, I think yesterday or a couple of days back we had an update on India's population, which is now I think by many standards world's number one population. So almost what percentage of that population is now using internet? And let's see if we have some answers in the chat box. 80%, 99%, more than 60%. Wow, ये numbers अगर actually true है, so that will be a new wave of growth in India. But interestingly, about 50%, okay, So that's a huge number from a 1.4 billion population. Say 50% is huge, right? 700 million. I mean, as a as a country, this is itself, I think, third largest country अगर केवल इंटरनेट यूजर्स की काउंट गिने तो. So I think most of you have got it 50 to 60% के range में. So that's one. Okay. Here's another question, and let's see how many of you get this right. Um, of these 50%, how many of these are active on social media? Okay. How many of these you think are active on social media? Okay, so इस पे भी अच्छी खासी बोली लग रही है. That's interesting. I'll just wait for a couple of seconds. 20 30 20 30. अब सब लोगों ने tame down किया. That's good. And यहाँ पे number is the other way around. So almost 70% of these are on social media. So समझ सकते हो the amount of the 50%, 70% is actually on social media platforms in India, right? So there is a huge bunch of people, आप जैसे हम जैसे, who are consuming social media content. And one last, before we move out of these did you know series, roughly almost 7 hours a day are spent on internet. Okay, thanks to internet being the cheapest in the world as compared to currency terms. Okay, now roughly 7 hours a day is where we see. You're right, Mr. George. WhatsApp takes most of the time. True. But is 7 hours में से roughly how much time do you think is spent on social media? Internet पे तो रहते हैं. How much is on social media? 4 hours. Some of you are saying 3 hours, 4 hours. Bhavesh is saying 3 hours. Okay. I think most of you got it right. I don't know how many of you actually spend 3 hours, but if I were to check it, I think I'll be spending a little bit more than 3 hours for sure. So yeah, so that's an amount of time that we are actually spending on social media. But yeah, some क्यों बता रहे, right? I think apart from knowing some good interesting facts, it is also that what does it mean for us when we want to start marketing, right? So there are so many eyeballs out there on social platforms. अब हम उसका करें क्या, right? And that's what we have. Before that, we have a quick poll for you, and a little poll. If you can please fire that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's launched, and I request everyone to share their answer.
Right. So do you know how to set up social media account or page for your school, right? And now we're getting into a little more specifics of social media. So we'll wait for a few moments कि आपने, most of you have a social media account, that's great. अब आप में से कितने लोग हैं जिन्हें पता है अपने स्कूल के बारे में सोशल मीडिया कैसे सेटअप किया जाए?
Okay, so more than 50% have answered. We'll wait for 5 seconds more.
Yeah, let's wait for 5 seconds more and then we'll move on.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think I can share the results.
Hanji, let's do that.
Yeah, results are on the screen.
Good. So we saw from almost 76, 77%, almost 2/3 पे आ गया who have set up social media for their school, right? So larger chunk here now probably has not done it, or probably they don't know how to do it yet. And I think we can close this. Thanks a lot, Pradipta, for this. And it is precisely for this context and reason. We will quickly look at. So we have given a guide which is going to walk you through how to set up this Facebook page, and it's a free guide. I'll quickly show you 1 or 2 pages, but this is what you're going to get at the end of this session, where it's a very detailed guide on how do you set up your Facebook account, kahan pe shuru karo, what are the good pro tips in creating content, creating your page, photo kahan lagaye, what is the profile, what is the dimension of the photos that you need to have, what are the best practices, right? And if you sort of follow this to the T with all the pro tips, I think you will have a very usable and an effective guide to make your own pages, right? So this is what you're going to get at the end of this session, along with this. So to hang around, and we'll share this at the end of it. Right. So moving on, why is social media important to grow your school? Primarily, there are two sort of key reasons. Right. One is to give national level exposure because of the usage that we saw of your school, and also is you get to reach the relevant audience. Right. आप exposure दोगे ताकि your relevant audience gets to know about your school, and therefore help them decide faster, quicker. Right. And let's understand how do you actually do this by looking at very sort of three simple questions, right? Who's the right audience for each social media platform? We looked at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, right? So we'll quickly look at that who is the right audience for each of these platforms. Second, how do I reach in the best possible way? Each platform is different. YouTube is video heavy, Instagram is photo heavy, Twitter is text heavy. So how do I reach my audience in the best way, and what are the different types of content that can push to attract my audience, right? And along with all of this, along with the guide, we're also giving you what tools you can use to work with videos, to work with photos, which are free tools, so that you don't have to invest a lot of monies on that, right? So first up, who's the right audience for each social media platform? And we have looked at these 5 platforms. So objective क्या है आपके platform का when you are on Facebook, Instagram, and something called as YouTube, right? One is to build awareness of your school. Objective है influence parents to take action, and these are very visually heavy platforms. As compared to this, when you look at something like a LinkedIn and a Twitter, your primary purpose there is to uplift your brand perception, because the audience that is there on Twitter and LinkedIn is of that nature, right? Twitter, LinkedIn, where you can drive conversation, you can drive policy conversations around on these platforms, given the nature of those platforms, right? And so who are sitting on these platforms primarily? The first 3, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you generally have pets. These are huge mass platforms of for consumption. And LinkedIn, Twitter, I think most of you would have guessed it, is more on the business side, more on the media side, more on the policy and the decision making side. And therefore the age groups, and I won't get into each of these numbers, but आप पढ़ लोगे तो आपको समझ आ जाएगा कि what are these age groups available on these platforms, right? So how do I reach my audience in the best sort of possible way on these platforms? And I'm looking at Facebook and Instagram, right? And examples that, and I'll just share some of these. User generated content, right? You have so much content getting generated in your school itself. Taking those photographs, putting them with some nice little caption, and we are going to give you some names of tools which can help you cut and make those images platform worthy. That is one good simple way. Second is contests, quizzes, polls. These are very, very powerful ways of engaging with your audiences. Third, and the next around topical days, you have Teachers Day, you have so many series of days, Science Day, One Mahotsav, etc. for along the year. So creating content around that, and creating stories and reels for whatever is happening within your school, right? Fairly simple, but when you put it in a schedule, it becomes extremely effective way of reaching your audience, right? On LinkedIn and Twitter, a lot of it is got to do with school awards, industry news, or if you are a school owner, if you're a principal, if you're an academician, your take on some of the discussions that are happening in the curriculum or in the exam world, and that will help you stand out as an entity, person, school of very strong repute, right? Your schools might be winning awards, and talking about those, just some example that we have put in here, right? These are the ways you can engage with the audience on LinkedIn and Twitter. uh, and I hope this part is clear. If you have a doubt, please put it in the Q&A and we'll take it up there, right? And how do I reach my audience in the best possible way? Some more examples: school awards, latest industry news, media coverage. Agar aapke school mein there is a media van which has come in to look at some of your annual days, sports days, science days, cover those here, right? If your school writes blogs, webinars karte ho aap, or you're doing student demonstrations, fantastic ways of generating and engaging with the audience. Some of these is what we have given example जो हमने खुद ने use किए, right? So polls, especially on LinkedIn, Twitter, fantastic ways of engaging as well. Right? Cool. On YouTube, and YouTube, as I said, extremely video heavy, right? So as a school, आपके पास potential of generating huge amount of extremely engaging and convincing and compelling content. Classrooms में, class के बाहर, sports, science, children, across students, across teachers, long form, short form videos, and those are the ways you can sort of generate them. अब इसमें उसमें description लिखना है, उसमें video को cut करना है. Some of these tools you will see what we have mentioned along the way in the guide, ताकि आप उसको use कर पाओ और video अच्छा दिखे, right? And how do I reach in the best possible way? जैसे आप देखोगे कि YouTube होता है, YouTube पे एक channel कैसे बनता है? How do you create a channel? What are playlists? Playlists चाहिए क्यों होती हैं, right? And you see some examples here. Lead ने, for example, there are certain student events, there are certain principal videos, right? School owners videos. और आप भी वैसे अपने हिसाब से in your what appeals to you by grade कर लो या by student and by teacher कर लें, right? ताकि जब when someone arrives on those pages, auto play में बहुत सारा connected content दिखे. 1, 2, when you're giving good descriptions and you're writing the right relevant keywords, YouTube में बहुत सारा search होके content आता है, and YouTube is world's second largest search engine after Google search. So you can realize that यहाँ पे अगर यदि आप right description keywords लिखें, best schools near my area, तो आपके schools के rank होके दिखने की उतनी ज़्यादा possibility है, right? So understanding all of this is something very important, and that those are the features, some of the features of YouTube which will help you engage better, right? तो ये हमने चीजें देखी हैं on user generated content. School if you want to take a screenshot, but ये हम आपको अलग से pass करने वाले हैं on the guide front, right? Best practices, formats, and all the content ideas as well, right? So what are the different kinds of content I can push on my for my audience? It's a quick snapshot. आप इसको cut करके अपने पास handy रख सकते हो, which can be used anytime. All right, I'm going to move ahead. आपको यदि कोई points हो तो feel free to write to us, right? Some interesting example, right? When you are running schools, of course, one of the primary purposes is to drive more meaningful enrollments and admissions, right? So admission season creatives are super important, right? In fact, when we work with our schools, we also give them editable templates of these creatives. जहाँ पे आपको वो template है, आपको बस अपने स्कूल के फोटो डालने हैं, बाकी की चीजें हमने दे रखी हैं. Right? It reduces a lot of effort of just creating those photographs, right? So static creatives होते हैं, carousels होते हैं, videos होते हैं, which talk about group activities, the way आपके classrooms कैसे हैं, अगर smart classrooms हैं तो showing those in those videos. These really help in communicating different dimensions of your school effectively to parents. So in admission season, this is very critical. Right? Student day, annual day event, these are very interesting content ideas which work well. Obviously video is by far the most engaging channel as a format. Reels and YouTube ke shorts, Instagram pe reels, very quick 7-10 second video, And static content, of course, कईयों के photos एक साथ डाल सकते हो, which is low on your resources and high on reach, right? School awards के examples हैं. These are again merit list में कोई आ गया, someone has won an award in a local competition, etc. They build a lot of credibility, right? So I'm going to quickly move on from here. From the activity-based learning, right? And इसमें when you create content, इसमें when you write the right description, and I'm just repeating that because it aids in discovery. कई बार आपके parents might not know about your school or about this aspect in your school, but having them in the right description helps in discovery on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube, right? So that is what helps in with the right entering the right copy, right? Some examples on how these topical festive days can actually creatives be made, and at the same time remain engaging and not very sort of boring, right? So what is the shape of a Christmas tree, name the vehicle, etc. So इसमें knowledge भी आता है, so people look forward to it, therefore they engage with it, and platforms like engagement. तो आपके अगर creatives पे engagement हो रही है तो platforms वो creatives और लोगों को दिखाएगा. More and more people will get to see it at literally no additional cost, right? And that's what we all want. Okay. So the last part, I mean, the next part is education related topics. अभी हाल में NCF, NEP are extremely relevant topics of discussion. Ensuring that your schools are NEP compliant helps you get parents who are seeking a holistic education for their child. So that's why education related topics and news के ऊपर content लिखना, ट्वीट करना, रीट्वीट करना, लिंक्डइन के ऊपर उसके ऊपर पोस्ट करना, रिपोस्ट करना, या ब्लॉग लिखना become very important. So a quick summary snapshot for each of these platforms में क्या टाइप के content, क्या features हैं जो आप वहाँ पे use कर सकते हो, and therefore what formats work the best, right? You can take a screenshot of this if you want, but we'll anyways be sharing all of this later, and we can sort of move on with this. And there are some tools which will help you, photo edit, video edit. So Canva है, OpenShot है, copy.ai है for writing copy. बहुत बार background removal करना पड़ता है, keywords research करने पड़ते हैं. There are remove BG, Google Trends, Ahrefs. Very effective, very simple, and all of these are free to sort of use keywords, free to use platforms. So आपको usage में दिक्कत नहीं होनी चाहिए. Right. So I'm going to pause here. I know almost 30-35 minutes of constant conversation. आप जैसे सवाल पूछ सकते हैं पूछें. If they are easy, I'll be happy. But yes, Sariji, you will get slides after the meeting.
Thank you for covering all the basics, Vivek sir. I'm sure the audience must be having a lot of follow-up questions for you. So I request them to share their questions using the Q&A button or type them in the chat. And while you go through them, I would invite Ms. Shalini, who heads the brand, content, and PR function here at LEAD, to quickly introduce what is LEAD to all the new people who have joined us. And I would request everyone to stay back till the end to get the free social media guide that we promised. Okay, so all right to you. Over to you, Ms. Shalini.
Thank you so much. Can we move the slide, please?
Yeah, Neha, can you move to the next slide?
Thank you. So first of all, thank you to everyone who's joined us. It means a lot to us to have you here with us today. And it's been a fascinating session so far. So much to learn about social media and how we can use it to better our work each day. But just a little bit about who is LEAD, what is LEAD, our background, our history. We actually celebrated 10 years of business operations last year. We started really with the belief that excellent, high quality, international standard education is the right of every child. It should not matter where the child is studying, whether it is in a big city or a small town. And this really is the philosophy that inspired our founders, Sumeet Mehta and Smita Deora, to set up LEAD. Today, we are India's largest and the fastest growing school edtech company. As I mentioned, our mission is to make excellent education both accessible and affordable for every child in India. And we're currently in 400 plus cities, more than 3,000 schools, and reaching 1.2 million plus students across the schools that we partner with. Could you move the slide, please? So while you're thinking about your questions, just a little bit more about what is our integrated school edtech system. So LEAD's school edtech system solves for all the needs of your school. It basically comprises a teacher capability system, a student development system, and of course, it has a very strong technology background or technology legs to it. So essentially, we help free up your teacher's time. We help to make teaching in a classroom more efficient and more effective with our solutions. And our multimodal teaching learning ensures that learning is, it's more fun and more interactive for students. So classrooms turn into places of fun and great learning where both, teachers and students enjoy. And it also solves for the needs of India schools in many, many ways. So that's just a snapshot of who we are and what we do at LEAD. And I see a lot of questions coming in. So I think we should move on to that now. Thank you once again for joining us.
So how many social media posts are enough for a month? Jamed Gul question, sir. So I think, well, there isn't a single answer to this, but start by at least having one post a day on a working day. So then you can get around 25-30 in a month, assuming they're all you're working on Saturdays and Sundays. Sundays for sure. Right. Next question is okay. Second question is, which social media platform is best for school? Which social media is best for school? As you know, there are many social media apps there, right? So in India, YouTube, the three that we have spoken about, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram have the maximum user base, right? So in my personal view, I think these three would be more than enough for you to start off your social media journey for now. Nitu, you're from Mehsana, Gujarat. I'm unable to make my presence count over chat. Just writing in here. Now I think we might have missed your question, but I'll look back into this. We'll also be exploring performance marketing as well today for another day. Willie Board George, if I got your name right, sir. Performance marketing, completely different piece. Happy to discuss that at a separate point, and if we get enough inquiries for it, we can look at that. But you're right, performance marketing, completely different piece altogether. Which social media platform best for school? Khushi ma'am, I think we touched upon this. The three that we've spoken about from parent marketing lens would be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. In these three together. So Diggy, please explain the paid ads and its importance in detail. I know I've seen a few more questions about paid ads. So in one or two lines, I'll tell you. When you build something on social media platforms, there are two ways to reach to people. Either you pay to reach to people or it reaches organically. Over the years, last 7, 8, 10 years, platforms में पहले organically या without pay reach होती थी. But that has now significantly shrunk. And this is not my opinion, these are platforms answers, right? So अगर आपके platform पे content है और वो content is extremely engaging, or extremely engaging is where people respond to your content by their own. आसान नहीं है, but if they do, then you will have a good reach. But most of us, प्रैक्टिकली वो करना हर बार करना मुश्किल होता है, हर कैंपेन वायरल नहीं जाता, हर वीडियो वायरल नहीं जाता, right? So to overcome that bridge, you will need to pay certain monies on the platforms to reach your audience. So it is extremely important, but it deals in a very different way. ये stage 1 है. इसके बाद at some point in time there is enough interest, we can look at performance marketing as well. How to audit social media account? Again, Ritu ma'am, I think social media account के audit would be a matter of saying आपका content कैसा है, किस frequency पे आ रहा है, right? उस content पे engagement क्या है, right? और ऐसे कौन से content elements हैं जहाँ पे engagement high है, जहाँ engagement low है, जहाँ ये इसका एक framework यदि बन जाएगा, then you will come to know कि आपकी frequency सही है, आपका content सही है, आपकी audience सही है, and then जो अच्छा चल रहा है उसको double in करो, जो शायद थोड़ा कम चल रहा है उसको improve करने की कोशिश। Paid ad strategy for all platform. I think I've touched upon this, so I will skip this. Role of paid ads. I think it's a good input on paid ads, and we probably might come back with another session purely for paid ads. We will certainly give you this video. Attractive page attracts many one, right? Can you give an idea how we can design our page better, right? So there is something called a social media page. उस पे क्या-क्या चीजें होनी चाहिए so that more people come in. We have given that in this guide, which we will share with you shortly, right? When you build your own page or your own web page, what all content should get into that rests outside of social media, but put yourself as a parent, right? What are the 2-3 things that you would want to first see in a school which will make you want to consider it? Maybe it could be the kind of teachers that are there, the kind of facilities that the school has, the kind of classrooms the school has, the kind of education track record the school has, a note from the school's principal or the school's owner. How do they teach and what is it value? What is the value for what value? What do they value the most in their school? 2-3 elements of these will have to go up on the page, and Baki will have to sort of follow up on that page. Will lead help us in creating Facebook pages and guide us for more effective ideas? Vaishali ma'am, I think part of the answer is we're going to give you, we have already made a fairly detailed guide, इसमें how to create. When we work with our partner schools, we even go ahead one step further, we make some listing pages for them. We've also gone ahead and in this one, even templates where you can just replace photos of your photos, बाकी सारे designing elements बने हुए हैं. So a lot of that heavy lifting we do for our partner schools, and give ideas and suggestions like we have done in this. Aisha from school say, should we help? How should we help the schools which are in slum areas that are not very big on to social media? Is there any alternative? So, social media, the one that we have discussed, really has no cost to it. इसमें आपको you won't have to spend a single paisa for whatever we have discussed. आप phone से photo लेके the platform that we have spoken, उससे Google, Facebook platform पे you can start pushing it. No cost needed whatsoever. So I think that answers your question. Are you going to share templates that help us prepare creatives? So Neetu, I think, ma'am, we do this for the school that we are partnering with. So I'm not sure अगर आप हमारे partner school से नहीं, but आपको, but so that's the answer for that. Can we use local languages along with English? Mr. Diggy, that's a very good point, and we must use local languages along with English, and that's a very good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Answer is a big yes. Right? If you're doing it, fantastic. I think I've looked at all the questions on this page. अगर मैंने कुछ miss कर दिया हो तो you can put me up on chat. I'm seeing some questions in your chat, but I think it is I've answered most of these questions. I will wait for a few more minutes if you want to raise any questions here. I'll just go to the bottom. What about today's video? We will be sharing today's video with everyone shortly.
So there was another interesting question, which I think we didn't cover, is who should we target on social media? Is it parents or students?
Interesting. I think let me answer this. See, in a classic case where students students will prompt a lot to parents to move to which school they want to go to because of their friends, because of what they see, right? Children do spend, and when I say children, I'm not talking about children who are below a certain age, right? But as soon as above 13, these platforms are actually open for children, right? So I'm going to take that question, that benchmark कि इसके नीचे for pre-primary and primary classes, parents primarily, because they are the decision makers. वो देखते हैं कहाँ where to give the admission. But as children grow up, when they have their own social circle, when they have their own group, they are a very strong influencer, right? So depending on which grades you are focusing on, and you should focus on across the grades जहाँ जहाँ आपकी school cater करती है, you will have to cater to parents for younger grades, primarily for parents. And within that, I will go one step further and answer parents से क्या communicate करो for younger grades. Maybe security of the school, facilities in the school, transport in the school. And as you go in the higher grades, what do you communicate? More about academic curriculum, more about teaching staff, more about results that you have shown, because that is what will appeal more to the parents as the child grows up. So I hope that answers the question.
Another specific question that we have here is out of all the platforms that we discussed, which platform is the best for schools? Like if we have to pick one.
It's like saying which is the best vegetable. Sare important hai. There are different aspects for each platform. So I won't be able to put my finger and say this is the best platform. I think the answer is you need to have a mix of audio, of video, and static and text communication to appeal in every format wherever your audience lies. Right? Numbers wise, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram have the maximum reach. So your chances of reaching maximum people in the best way possible would be on these platforms.
Okay, another question in the chat is how important is it to have SEO in your social media marketing?
Sure. I think SEO, so let me explain the fundamental difference between social platforms and SEO. Social platforms may consumers are there actively consuming content, right? But they are there actively. I'll change my word. They're passively consuming content. आप Facebook पे scroll करते रहते हो, आपको कुछ दिखता है. When you are on SEO, you are actively searching for a content, right? So which means आपको जानना है कि which are the best schools for JEE preparation in my area, which are the best schools for nursery kids in my area, or with certain specific asks कि जहाँ पे एक particular subject एक particular तरीके से पढ़ाया जाए. Now there are two different set of people you are reaching out. One is actively searching, other is passively searching. अगर आपके लिए दोनों important है तो you will have to do both, right? So SEO is an integral part of your digital presence strategy. इसके लिए आपको आपकी वेबसाइट पे search engine optimization करना पड़ेगा. There are tools that we have mentioned like Ahrefs and Google Trends, which are again free tools, जहां से आपको idea मिलेगी कि what are people searching for when they are looking for schools, right? And that needs to feed into your website SEO strategy.
I think we can pick one last question and then, due to shortage of time, conclude it. We'll also share the social media guide link in the chat. So the last question is, should we hire for social media or do it by ourselves?
I think this is more of a इसका answer. It is a matter of do you have the bandwidth to hire someone from social media, or someone can learn. It is a skill which is learnable. I'm not saying it is not a specialized skill set, but there will be enough. There could be someone who's super enthusiastic about picking this within your current system or school. One or two people can pick it up. It's a good way to inculcate and grow them as well. But if you have your plates full and if you think it needs a very sharp focus, then getting someone special to do that, or getting an intern to sort of post so that these are really low cost alternatives. Many schools will also have, and children in the certain who are above certain age bracket who can use digital platforms, they can be given the opportunity to manage it. So दो तीन तरीके हैं where you can do it. My point being, social media engagement don't think of it as a very high cost investment on the organic social media front. Paid, yes, you will have to spend, but this can run with shuru karo. Start posting one a day, and I think after every all other questions and answers will automatically will addressed.
Great. Thank you so much for today's session, Vivek sir. I think for all the people whom we could not answer today, please contact us using the phone number and email ID that we've shared in the chat. And also do download the free social media guide. Also, for attending this webinar, we'll be sharing the certificate as well as the recording for your future reference. See you next time.
Thank you, Prajakta, for setting this. Thank you, everyone, for attending. If you've missed any question, I can wait for a couple of moments to answer this. Otherwise, we can wrap it up.